And imagine that he doesn't take it in for oil changes or to get the tires checked for 100,000 miles. And then suddenly it doesn't start and he's mad. Well, that's what happens in our relationships.
Today is juicy. I feel like this is such an important topic that we were talking about on the podcast today, which is communication and investing in our relationships. And I think that you can learn one thing from today's show that can completely change your culture within your store and how your team interacts with each other and with you. And you might even get some bonus help with a other relationship, with a spouse, with somebody that you're seeing, with a sister, a sibling, a best friend. We are talking about being intentional with relationships on today's episode. I'm joined by Kathy Rushing. She is a marriage counselor and also my next door neighbor, which you'll hear about in the show. And she has so much wisdom and a lot of experience in this world of really helping couples be intentional with their relationship and really support each other. And she works with a lot of entrepreneurial couples. And so she gets what it's like being a small business owner and the grind and how much effort we put into our businesses and energy and what's left in the tank for our other partnerships and our other relationships. And are we fully showing up for our team? We cover so much in this about hour-long episode. It's another masterclass, and I am just really excited for you to tune in. Kathy doesn't necessarily come from the retail space, but what we talk about today can absolutely help your business. So I know that you're going to get a lot of value, and I really want you to take action on this episode. I want you to pick one thing and do it today. That's how quick you can actually make change and implement what you're going to learn today. Do it today. Before we dive in, here's a little bit more about my guest, Kathy. Kathy Rushing helps couples and individuals align life, love, and work so they don't lose themselves or each other along the way. With 40 plus years of marriage and 30 years as a marriage and family counselor, she brings wisdom and tools that turn drift into deep connection. You can learn more at kathyrushing.com. That's Kathy with a K. Rushing.com. We'll link to everything. And let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Crystal Vilkaitis, the Wolf of Main Street, and this is Rooted in Retail. Kathy, welcome to Rooted in Retail. I am thrilled you're here.
I am so happy to be here, Crystal. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, me too. So fun fact for our listeners, Kathy is my next door neighbor. And it's funny because we're like filming this. I know you are right behind me in your house. We're getting a ton of snow right now. It's a very pretty December morning as we're filming. But I have known Kathy for a few years now. And we went out to coffee recently at Pedro's, which I've talked about on the show. And you have this whole framework that you take couples through and entrepreneurs. And as you're talking about the framework, I'm like, of course, I'm always thinking about content for the podcast. I'm like, my retailers could so use this framework with their teams, maybe spouses. I was just loving it. And so I'm really excited for you to take our listeners through that framework today. But before we dive in, will you share a little bit more about you?
Oh my goodness. Okay. I am married to the love of my life, who is a serial entrepreneur, which is a little bit of how I got into this kind of niche of working with entrepreneurs, business owners. We've been married almost 46 years, actually. In January, we have 3 grown kiddos that are all happily married. I'm so grateful for that. And we have 2 little grandbabies. And so, yeah, life is good. We enjoy Colorado tremendously. Just all of the outdoor hiking. Yeah, we have our first snow today, so maybe snowshoeing or skiing soon. I was a licensed marriage and family therapist for, gosh, over 30 years. Paused my practice, well, closed my private practice and went into some business consulting for a few years. And then we were at a point where Mark could step away. He had started an assisted living business in 1998 and was at a point where he was not in the day to day and we could get to Colorado. We had a home up in the mountains near Winter Park that we loved. And so I just kinda stepped away from that for a bit, but, then I started creating resources because we hit a really low point, probably, I don't know, it was probably 2012. He had been, as he described it, pushing the ball, in this company he had started, and just they would open new facilities, and it was like a startup all over again, and so it was like it just kept going, and we were both really worn out, empty, and, we would have said our marriage was good, but when we hit this patch, we just realized we had nothing left to give each other emotionally, physically, spiritually, and I realized then that while there are a lot of resources for marriage, communication, business, tons of business books, there is nothing at the time, especially, there are a few things now, but there was really nothing that looked at the intersection of the 2. Marriage, which is it's the foundation of why we're building everything, and when I say marriage, I include any committed relationship. It's just easier to say marriage, or I'll say partner, but it includes any committed relationship. You're building something for a reason. It's not just yourself, but it's for the life you're building together. But if you have lost that connection with the very one that you're building it with, what's the point? So I launched a podcast. I've written blogs. I've written articles, a lot of social media. And and then about 2.5 years ago, launched Lodestar Relationship Coaching, and partly because Texas wouldn't give my license back. So I was like, well, hmm, that was, yeah, I wasn't gonna start over. They were like, "You'll have to start over with supervision." Yep. So I started this relationship coaching practice to provide resources and strategy and to help couples think about their marriage as they would their business. We have strategies for business, goals, vision, all of those things. But somehow we think our relationship just magically should feel the same way 10 years in that it did, you know, when you committed to each other or fell in love. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It takes work. And even, these principles that you're going to talk about today can, like we were talking at the coffee shop, can work with your teams. And I know you're going to modify that too. So, anybody listening, I think a lot of our listeners are in some sort of committed relationship and some even do work together. So, like, if that's you, listener, then you're in for like double time for this episode. But what we're going to cover is just going to help in a lot of different aspects. And I think that the work you do is just so important. Entrepreneurship, like you're so focused and you are just driven and you can get really caught up in everything else. And you're just like, yeah, my partner's good. Like, we're good. We've been together. We're good. And you can lose yourself. You can lose the partnership. And so I'm glad we're going to talk about these things today and just how to really work on relationships, whether that's teams or spouses. But before we get into your framework, Kathy, retail is obviously fast paced. It can be stressful. That can really have an impact on our teams. So, from your work with entrepreneurs, what's one thing you've noticed about how pressure or busyness impacts the way people show up in relationships, whether at home or at work?
I think it's the same thing. When people are high pressured, and to have a high pressured day is one thing, but to have, like, we're recording this early December. I'm not sure when it will release, but it's high season for people in retail. And so it's not a day or a moment, it's several weeks. And it was probably many, many weeks of building up to Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So when we are under stress for a time, our nervous system is not intended to maintain that long term, right? Our fight or flight response, which most people are probably familiar with that, it was functional when a lion might be coming at your family and you had to immediately prepare for battle. And you either killed the animal or the animal killed you or it ran away. And, you could get back to, kind of a baseline, calm functioning more in your, rest and digest, which is really where we should be spending more time. And, but in modern society, and whether you are a business owner, whether you own a retail shop, store, whether you've started a business, it's never ending. Like, there is no off button many times. And so when that compounds, and I think that's where Mark and I were really in 2012. It had been such a long stretch of pushing, burning the candle at both ends, and eventually you get irritable, and you can take that irritability out on the people around you, whether it's the people you work with or the people you live with. And if it's both, like you said, those couples that are both, that is a double challenge, which I'm actually in the process of creating some resources for those couples, because I think it is even more crucial that they have boundaries. But definitely irritability. I think sometimes too, we can, in that focus, just be pushing forward and not stop to make eye contact, which we lose a lot in communication when we're not looking at body language. How are you today? Fine. But if I'm not looking at you and that fine is through gritted teeth, then you're saying one thing and telling me something with body language that's a little different. So I think in our busyness, we can forget that it's important to slow down and really see people. Again, whether that's the person we work with, your staff, your, sales force, or your partner, or your kids for that matter.
Right. It's so true. Oh my goodness. As simple as it sounds to just make that eye contact and look at someone, honestly, there are so many times of several people in my life where they are looking at the phone instead of talking to me. And it's honestly one of my biggest pet peeves. I'm like, "Oh, wait, I can't not have you look at me." I just feel like because I know when I am on my phone, I'm not paying attention to you. I am not as present. I'm in and out. And so I know that's probably happening for you too. And I would like to have that eye contact. And I think that if you're in a store setting with your team and you're stalking and you're just like, sometimes we just go through the motions. It's just like, here I am again, and I'm just going through the motions. And we'll make an effort to like, hopefully if we're doing this, to look at our customers as they come in, right? And we'll make eye contact with them and we have great service. But I think we can sometimes forget about the team because we're just doing what we've always done. And then you go home and you totally forget about your spouse because you're like, I see you all the time. But like that adds up. And then I think that starts breaking the connection that you have.
And I think sometimes too, people mistakenly believe that to work on relationships, on communication, takes too much time. And that's where I think it's so important to have strategies. I mean, imagine the difference in a day. You and I both go to Bindle. It's one of our favorite coffee shops. And I know that in the morning, before they start a shift, they all make their favorite coffee drink and they kind of toast each other. And I've read of, restaurants where at the end of the night, they share a small drink together and celebrate their wins. It's a moment of connection. It's a rhythm. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it communicates intentionality. And I think that's really the key with communication. I've walked into so many stores and I'll hear a voice like, "Welcome in." And I'm looking around like,
Yeah.
"Where are
Where
you?"
are
I hear
you?
a voice. Is that on the speaker? But it's like, how hard would it be to step from behind where you're stalking and just make eye contact with me and welcome in. Let me know what I can help you find. Just to be seen is so important.
Yep, especially in a world where we're so plugged in, tech is just like taking over. We don't stop to see. We're running a million miles. That can be such a big benefit on its own. And to your point too, it doesn't have to be hard. Like we just think it's going to be really, really hard.
Or complicated or take a lot of time. It can be very simple.
It can be, yes, and let's let it be simple. And I think this is why I'm excited about this episode because I'll get some good tools for that. Before we get into the CRAVE framework, Kathy, we all know that relationships matter. We all like, I know, yes, my marriage matters. Yes, my relationship with my team matters, but most of us don't intentionally work on them until something goes wrong. Why do you think people, especially business owners, avoid or delay this work? And what's the cost of not paying attention sooner? Are you looking to be the retailer that everyone knows and loves? If you are, we can help support you inside of the Independent Retailers Association. We have a lot of different tools that can help you grow your visibility, connect deeper with your customers to really create lifetime relationships. We've got training on marketing and social media kits to make social media so easy for you every single month. Plus, we have an amazing community inside that you can ask questions and get advice and share your wins. I'm in there, my team's in there, and all of our other hundreds of retail members. And at the pro level, you can tune in every other week to our retail pro strategy calls where you get access to incredible pros in the retail space who are experts in all aspects from merchandising to sales to texting to becoming a destination to hearing from fellow retailers who are knocking it out of the park with their events. We have so much great content inside of the Independent Retailers Association, which we call IndERA. So we have a couple of different levels that you can join starting at just $25 a month. I would love to see you inside. This is a way for us to connect, go deeper, and really help grow your business so you can become the store that everybody knows and loves. We'd love to see you there. You can go to joinindera.com to learn more. That's joinindera.com. All right, let's get back to the episode.
Okay. Now I'm on my soapbox.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think one of the reasons people don't pay attention sooner is because the pain isn't felt. They make a lot of assumptions that we're good. I mean, if I had a dollar for every couple I've said, how's your marriage? Or just in conversation, oh, we're good. We're good. Or maybe it's a couple that has come to me and it's like, well, we're not that bad. And it's like, why do you have to be bad before you maintain it? Right. I think that we also make the assumption that relationships stay the same, but neutral is not a position in any relationship. Again, whether it's your partner, whether it's someone you work with, whether it's a good friend you haven't seen in a while, you're either moving towards each other or you're moving away from each other. And that drift is like, imagine you're taking off in a boat. I'm not a boat navigator, captain, but you have your compass and you're off by 1 degree. Well, you don't notice that for a while, but eventually you are way off course. And that's really what happens in relationships. So people don't feel the pain until they are off course. And that drift has been happening for a little while. I think the other reason that people hesitate is that these are soft skills. And in our especially driven American mindset, we want to invest in what we can measure. And soft skills are a little harder to measure. And yet we've all been in those places where that attention. I mean, I read Will Guidara's book last year. What is it?
Unreasonable hospitality.
Unreasonable Hospitality. Oh my gosh. It's been inspiring to me to see how people have taken those principles in schools in all kinds of settings. But we tend to not invest in them because we think they're not that important. And yet again, the difference between good relationships, whether that's a team that you work with, a team that is fun and engaged and feels like they really matter as part of the team, very different from a manager, an owner who just treats you like a cog in a wheel, like you're easily replaced. And people sense that. And so they do. But the cost, I mean, in the worst case scenario, the cost could be your marriage. And that's where sadly I still tend to see people is they are in a lot of pain. And if you own a business, whether together or, one of you is an entrepreneur, if you go through a divorce, everything you've been working for is at risk. I like to use the analogy of maintaining a car. I know Dustin bought his dream car last year, and I love it when I hear the engine rev up, and
Do
I'm like,
you? Do you love it? It's loud.
no, it makes me smile because 'cause I'm like, must be date night for Dustin and Crystal."
Love it.
And I know it makes him happy, so it's yeah, it makes me smile. It's not that loud, but it has a definite like, it's not your everyday car. But imagine, he dreamed about this car and worked hard for a long time, and imagine that he doesn't take it in for oil changes or to get the tires checked for 100,000 miles, and then suddenly it doesn't start and he's mad. Well, that's kind of what happens in our relationships. I think to have a mindset that we are going to invest, not because we're feeling pain, but because we want it to keep growing. We want our team to be not an average team. We want that team to be the reason why people come to our store. I can think of stores that we used to live in New Braunfels, and there was a store that I just loved. I would go in even if there wasn't anything I needed. She carried retail, like home goods and lots of things like for gifts and jewelries. It was a real variety, but she had such beautiful presentation. But more than that, it was just fun. Like a lot of times on Fridays, she would have happy hour set up or something. So you go in for a little glass of wine and go with a friend. And it was fun. So it makes so much difference. And I think having that mentality of a relationship is something that does require some work. It's not all work by any means, but I'm going to change the oil so that I can have the fun of driving that car for the rest of my life.
Exactly. Well, and it's a long-term I mean, all I can think about when you're talking is how our retailers really struggle with finding and keeping good help. It's a hard thing right now, and it's especially harder than it's ever been, and I have a lot of thoughts around why that is, but I was at a show over the summer, and I sat with like, I kinda had these consultations, and I sat with several different stores, and, like, 9 out of 10 talked about how their employees suck and they're not great and they're really having a hard time finding people and they've got to solve that first before they can invest in their marketing. And I could tell they're just like so exhausted with their people. And then there was this one guy who sat with me and he's like, "Oh, I got the best team. They have been with me for ages. I just love them." And like, I could tell he invests in getting to know them. He's a relationship guy because I got to know him in this sitting. Like, he asked questions about me. I asked about him. He just like nurtured the relationship in just those, 15, 20 minutes we had together. And I could tell, oh, you're a good leader and you probably invest in your team. And that's why you've had these people for a long time. And I'm not saying, if anybody's getting mad at me right now listening, I'm not saying that you're necessarily a bad leader. But I do think that there in some cases, I think that we fall victim of this, me included, that you get so wrapped up in work that you aren't investing in the relationship. And then that relationship starts to go south and your team is doing stuff you don't want them to do and they're acting ways you don't want them to act. And then the longer you go driving the car but not getting it maintained, the more things start breaking. And you just can get to a point where it's like, man, I don't know if we can come back from this, or I don't even want you here. And you're letting them go. And it's such a mess. And it takes so much time and effort and money to hire. And so if we can just figure this out and be really intentional with our relationships in our store, we can save a lot of energy, effort, time, money on hiring and letting people go. And so I'm again just why I'm really excited for this conversation. So
If I can add this, so when I did that stint for a few years of business consulting, I got certified in the DISC profile and a couple of other assessments, and that's what I did is I worked with primarily our business, the nursing home, not nursing home, the assisted living business, hiring, retention, onboarding, because in every industry, I mean, in the assisted living business, you talk about turnover. Oh my gosh, it was always a struggle. And that was part of the burnout, really, was finding good people and investing in them. When I got certified in the DISC profile, which I don't know if you've ever taken that or not, but it's a wonderful tool both for communication. I use it with couples, but it's also helpful, like for teams, to understand how you communicate these four primary styles. And I remember when I was doing my training that in the surveys that they did, the majority of people did not leave necessarily because they wanted to. They left because they were mismanaged. And so having like hiring someone to do a team disc profile. Mark did it. We have a porta potty business now. Did it with his team, and just it gives people a way to understand the people they work with, without labeling or, oh, they're just so sensitive or something, but it really helps to know, or someone who's very quiet on the team, how to draw them out. So I think there are some tools, and it may look like an expense, but when you look at the expense of turnover,
Yep, exactly.
that becomes just astronomical.
It does. It really does. And just the energy and trying to find somebody and train the new person and go through all that, that's a lot. So that's a really good point. Just look into DISC. That's a great framework and kind of like tests you can take to understand your team and work with them. And then, of course, they can use CRAVE. So let's get into it, Kathy. Tell us about what CRAVE means and how our retailers can use it with their teams and even personally.
Okay. So CRAVE is a 5-pillar framework that I created. Most of the tools within CRAVE, I didn't create. If you've been in relationship work or read one, leadership or marriage book, you know something about communication. But I put this together as a way that would be a, a tool that couples especially could come back to on a regular basis. And so crave, I'll go through the 5 elements and then come back and unpack each one. So crave, C is communication. R stands for rhythms and rituals that connect. A is appreciation and affirmation. V stands for vision. Well, E is for energy. It just supports everything that we do. So let's go back and unpack. So C is for communication, and communication is a big, big topic. Again, there are books that have been written on this, especially, either directed at relationship communication or workplace communication. It's not all that different. One of the tools that I teach every couple I work with is the speaker listener technique. Some of your listeners may have heard the term active listening. This one tool, really, if you don't take away anything else from this episode, and if you want a printout of it, just email me. Crystal will have all my contact info in the show notes, and I'll send you a PDF where I summarized it. But Speaker Listener is it's an active listening tool, and it's where communication really breaks down, because communication is usually not about having something to say. It's about really hearing the other person. So the speaker uses I language. Let's say you are a store owner and you had a conversation with Susie yesterday about where you wanted this new product, and you come in and it's not there. Do you respond in anger? You didn't do what I asked you to do. You start with you, and immediately the person is defensive. So instead, you might say something like, these 3 words, I swear, will save a lot of relationships. Help me understand. help me understand what happened between the conversation we had last night and this morning. There might be a good explanation. I don't know. Maybe she had a sick kid and she was late coming into work. Um, so the speaker uses I language. I think, I need, I feel, I want, I'm confused, I'm tired, whatever, but you're owning your own experience. The person who's in the listening role, let's say someone comes to you or your partner comes to you with something, as the listener, there are 3 things that you're gonna focus on. The first is mirroring. It is literally like holding up a mirror and saying back what you hear them say. That alone, again, will shut down communication if you're not doing it, because what happens so often, I come to my husband with, "Hey, this is something that happened that upset me." And instead of mirroring that, "So you're upset by something I said," instead it's defensiveness. "That's not what I said." Whatever. And we respond defensively. So in the speaker listener, mirroring is one thing that the listener is always doing. The second is empathic or finding a feeling word. And this may happen after a couple of back and forths. So after hearing them say, because when the speaker listener is very much a back and forth. Speaker says something for a few minutes, the listener, let me see if I'm hearing you right. They mirror, a few more back and forths, and then it might be something like, it sounds like you're really worried about XYZ. Yes, yes, that's what I'm trying to say. And the third piece is validation. Validation does not necessarily mean agreement. It means I I can see now that I've heard where you're coming from, I can see why that would be upsetting to you. But then you switch and the other person has the speaker, and that's where you have the opportunity to say, let's say there's a difference in how things were. Let's go back to the shop owner who's had expressed to Susie, I want this new product placed here, and it's not there. And so she listens to Susie. And then maybe in the process of listening to Susie, maybe she recognizes that, okay, so maybe I wasn't clear in what I said. Sometimes it's like it's real clear in our head, but it didn't come out that way. And so we can course correct. We can say something like, in the future, I will have you say back to make sure that you're hearing what I'm saying. Now, again, it feels awkward in the beginning of using this tool, but you can make it personal and it can be a very quick exchange that dealt with in the moment keeps things from piling up because the pile up is what is really hard later. So that's a short overview of the speaker listener technique, which is one tool under communication. We need to know how to have healthy conflict. Where do we learn how to have healthy conflict? Again, I feel like there are more tools in the workplace currently than even for personally, but if we would use those at home, things would go much better. So communication is a big one, but I kind of break it down. I've put together an audio I hate to say course, but it's a set of audio. They're less than 20 minutes each, so they're very easy to consume. That kind of walks through each of these for people who want to listen on the go or, listen with their partner or listen with their team.
Yeah, cool. So how can our listeners access that somehow, Kathy? Like, do you have a link you could send me we could put in the show notes?
It will be on my website. I'm recording the last one this week. So it will be.
I'm totally sitting here being like, I feel like you could do, like, hour-long sessions for each word. So, obviously, everyone listening, like, you're getting this, appetizer of going deep in all of these. But, I love this framework. I love C, obviously, kicking us off strong. So, tell us about R.
So R is rhythms that connect. rhythms and rituals. And there's a little bit of a difference. Rituals have a little more of a maybe spiritual or you think about people, maybe a family that goes to church every week together. That would be a little more of a ritual. Or, we're in the Christmas season or Hanukkah, whatever your faith background is that you celebrate. And there are rituals related to that, certain meals. But rhythms that connect are different than, I visualize them as different than routines. Again, I mentioned the coffee shop that they toast each other with their favorite coffee drink every morning. And it's a rhythm that means we're connecting, we're here together, and we're gonna have a great day. As a couple, it could look like maybe you have coffee or tea together in the morning, but you're both on your phones, checking mail, checking email, whatever. A simple change, like asking a simple question like, "What's going on in your day that I need to know about?" Or, "How could I support you today?" Very simple. A store owner could ask that of a team lead. "How can I support you today?" Wow, what a difference that would feel like instead of like, "Chop, chop, let's get out."
Exactly. Hit the goals, sell, do, like, we gotta go, go, go. And when I feel like when you're asking, like, "How can I support you?" It's sort of the law of reciprocity. I feel like then people are like, "How can I support you? I mean, thank you for wanting to support me, and I wanna give that back." And it's one simple question that can change the vibe completely.
Yeah. All of this, Crystal, I think I meant to mention this earlier, but it is our most basic human desire is to be seen, heard, and valued. And again, if there was one takeaway, I would encourage every one of your listeners to write that on wherever they look at every day. Maybe it's the screensaver on their phone. How are you seeing, hearing, and valuing the people in your life? That's so powerful. Okay. So the rhythms, so the difference between just routines, having coffee together, what makes it different as a rhythm that connects, it's the intention. And so I'm going to take 5 minutes, make eye contact with you, and say, "What's going on in your day that I can support you with?" And that becomes a rhythm that connects. And you do that often enough. And when that goes missing, you know it. I remember one day Mark left the house without kissing me goodbye. We usually, even if it's a quick peck, hug, and he left the house. And I was like, "Huh, what's wrong?"
Something is off.
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
But yeah, if you're a store owner, or if you're a business owner, having even monthly, like little small get-togethers, a little happy hour or something, just becomes something they can look forward to and create some connection beyond just the job,
The grind, totally.
the grind. Yeah. So A stands for appreciation and affirmation. This came from some research that a woman did for her master's thesis. And she talked to, I forget how many entrepreneurial couples. And I'm curious if most of your listeners would consider themselves entrepreneurs. I had someone tell me recently that she and her ex now had a family business. They worked in a family business together, but they did not see themselves as entrepreneurs. They just saw themselves as business owners. And I thought, that's interesting because entrepreneur, in its truest sense, it's someone who starts something, a business, technology. But I think that if you are taking on the risk of creating jobs for other people, which is what retail is, most people I would imagine are not solopreneurs as a retail owner.
Most no, yeah.
Um, so you provide a product, but you also create jobs. So one of the things she found in her research was that many partners of entrepreneurs felt invisible, unappreciated for many of the behind the scenes things that they did. And especially for those quieter members of a partnership or a team, it's easy for them to be overlooked. And so I think practicing and how I would differentiate the two is appreciation is I appreciate what you did today. Let's say the retail owner who is leaving earlier than normal in this season, but they have kids in school. And so their partner is the one that's getting the kids to school or taking care of the teacher gifts. And to say, I really appreciate that you did this. It really helped me get to the store earlier and be ready to be there for my team and for our customers. So that would be appreciation. Affirmation is I appreciate you for who you are. So you're a hard worker, you are conscientious, you are reliable. A little bit different, nuanced difference, but again, imagine making it an intention today. And I would say, take one of these today and think about each of your employees and what could you affirm about them? Not just, "Oh, you're pretty." I mean, maybe
You're
they are.
funny.
You're funny.
Yeah.
You bring a sense of lightness to our team with your sense of humor, and I really appreciate that about you. That would be an affirmation because they might think it's not important. So again, small things.
I love that. That's so good.
Okay, moving on. V is vision. And this will be a little bit different for couples versus owners. Putting it in the retail context, I'm assuming that as a retail owner, you have a vision. A lot of people are doing goal setting this time of year. Maybe they've already done it for 2026. They're reviewing what happened. What else do we want to happen in 2026? But oftentimes they may not be communicating that to their team. So do you want people who are engaged? Then help them to buy in to where you're going.
Mm.
Yeah. As a couple, it becomes much more expansive. It includes things like what are not only goals for us as a couple, where do we want to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years, but personally, because we can sometimes lose ourselves in these long-term relationships. And that's where, as entrepreneurs, I see this. I experienced it a bit myself, of feeling like I was giving to everyone else and got burned out myself. So, knowing where you're going, why are you doing it? These are the sort of things. And as a couple, it includes things like financial goals. Um, what are the values we want our family represent to represent in our family. Um, that would be true for a team as well. And, a lot of people have for a long time posted their core values, and nothing irritates me more than to go into a shop of some sort, service, usually service related. And here are our core principles. And someone has just dealt with you in the most rude fashion. It's like,
Right.
don't post it if you're not gonna live by
No, read
it.
the wall. What are you
You
doing?
know, it's like right there,
Yeah.
So, important to know that vision, and while most owners probably do that, again, I think it's important to communicate the vision as is appropriate. Now, your vision for 2026, an owner might be looking to sell, and that may not be appropriate to share with your team, lest they go, "I'm checked out of here."
Or if you have and I just wanna say, because 'cause we've talked to a lot of retailers who, look to exit, and if somebody maybe could on your team could be a really good buyer, getting them in that vision could be really fun and just really, like, communicating how who do you want to be the new buyer? What's a perfect handover? And I just think this is whether you are selling or you want to build the business, we want to scale, we want multiple locations, or I just want a little more time off this year. Let's like keep doing what we're doing. But I'm going to go on a 2-week vacation. But I would just be so curious of our listeners, like how many of you share fully the vision of the store. Like I know some of you drive and you think of like, oh, I want us to be here and I want us to win the award and I want us to whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Like, does your team really know that? And have you communicated that in a way that's really meaningful out, not just the words on the wall, like you're really take them with the vision. And I think that there's an opportunity to combine like going out for happy hour and let's play. Like, what does the most wonderful store feel like? And how do we just like give back to our customers even more? And how do we make this so fun in 26? And I think teams could play into the vision as well, like co creation. I'm thinking that a little bit too with the couples. But like we were saying with couples, you have your own vision and then you can come together and be like, okay, and how, and I like that too, because then you can support each other. Here's what I want to achieve in my business or in my life. And will you cheer me on or will you support me? And you know where I want to go. And we just have to share the vision. I'm loving this, Kathy. I'm living it. I'm loving it.
Okay,
So good.
good.
Yeah. Retailers, if you're looking for fresh product that instantly sparks joy and sells just as fast, listen up. I want to introduce you to Streamline Imagined. They create some of the most fun, whimsical designs on the market today. I'm talking about those clever, colorful, can't help but pick them up items that customers love treating themselves to and make perfect impulse buys at your checkout, gift area, or seasonal displays. Streamline Imagined is known for products that tell a story the moment you put them on the shelf. Whether it's playful home decor, quirky toys, clever gadgets, or giftables that make people smile, their line is designed to stand out without taking up a ton of space. And here's what I really love. They ship quick, they're easy to work with, and their products have fantastic profit margins. So you're not just adding fun to your store, you're adding reliable revenue too. If you're ready to bring more personality, more color, and more I need this moments into your shop, check out Streamlined Imagine. Visit streamlinenyc.com to explore their latest collections and start stocking products your customers won't be able to resist. That's streamlinenyc.com.
You know, what's funny, Crystal, is that I created this for couples, but I hadn't really put it in the context of business, but it really does apply. Let me see if I missed anything here. So the other thing with the vision is not to just, okay, we have our planning retreat, and we've got our vision for the year, and but we need some way to check in with that. And so as a couple, I encourage that. I created a tool. It's a free download called the weekly marriage check-in. And it takes 20 to 30 minutes, but it touches on a lot of these. It touches really on all of the important areas to make sure that you don't lose yourself in the process and that as a couple, is this in line with what we've said we want to do with where we're going? So that's another tool. Again, that'll be linked in the show notes. But, as a retailer, as a shop owner, business owner, once you have that vision, you're going to have quarterly reviews and you're going to check in and you're going to course correct. And well, we're not really where we thought we would be, or we're like way ahead. Let's keep going and celebrate, because I think celebration is something that we too often miss. I mean, I'm a bubbly girl. Like, give me any excuse to toast someone's success or celebrate something. I just think we need to celebrate along the way. And again, this is something I've seen with many, many entrepreneurs. They just grind and they put their blinders on and they go and they go and they go and they go for years. And they turn around and nobody's with them. There's no one there to celebrate. So celebrate along the way. And I think that absolutely applies to, you know, business owners. Okay, so the last piece of CRAVE, so we have communication, rhythms and rituals that connect, affirmation, appreciation, vision, and we have energy. If we don't have energy, we don't have anything to give anywhere, not personally, not at work. And again, going back to our nervous system, I've been learning so much the last couple of years that information that simply wasn't available when I started practicing as a marriage and family therapist. But we know so much more now about nervous system regulation, about the impact that if I am calm and centered, that can, I say, be communicated, but it's picked up
Mhm.
by other people.
Totally, it's felt.
In a
They can feel
marriage,
that.
in an intimate relationship, we call that co-regulation. If someone
Mm.
is upset and the other partner is calm and in a good place, the simple act of hugging them, holding them, breathing together. Now, I'm trying to envision this as a shop owner.
I
Let
know.
me hold you.
Let's breathe together.
Let's breathe
Maybe
together.
not that depending on the store, some of our listeners are totally gonna do that with some of their employees, but yeah, that's good.
Well, maybe if you have a yoga,
Right.
practice, they might very well do that, but it would feel a little awkward in, work settings, but the idea of co-regulation is that the mere presence of a regulated person can be calming. The flip side of that, imagine the person that comes in like, they're just the whirling dervish and they just spread chaos everywhere they go. Right? It's a negative energy. So, energy has to do with working through what energizes you, what drains you. My goodness, as a business owner, I I think the challenge of many small business owners is I remember reading the E-Myth many, 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 many years ago. And, the woman that wanted to make pies, but pretty soon she's doing everything and they burn out because they're doing everything. So, being aware of energy, knowing when your energy is low in a relationship, it's giving the other person permission to call out, "Hey, you seem really irritable." Like, or just, "I notice you're napping a lot. What's going on? Is there something I need to know about? Is there something I can support you?" Where it's especially, that intersection again between marriage and entrepreneurship, business ownership. If you're Let's say you're a person who is not a natural extrovert. You're the business owner, but you know that you have to put on your A game when you're at work all day. You're there motivating your employees, you're interacting with customers, and you're trying to, you're pouring out. I think you used the analogy in another episode about Disney, and, it's like you're on stage. Well, if you're a little more on the introverted side, I mean, you may come home, and even if you're an extrovert, I'm an extrovert, but if I've been giving out a lot, I need some time to recharge. I need some alone time. And so, again, a day of that is not going to ruin a relationship. But if this is the pattern for months and you are working outside of your strength, then you're going to burn out. You're just not going to have anything left for your relationship. And that's a danger zone. That's a red zone. I could go on and on, but I know we don't have all day.
Oh, well, and truly, I mean, you everything could be a full day. I mean, you could really make it like an entire day to go through C and then R and then A. But I just love that we got the appetizer of this framework. And I think that for our listeners, I just really want you to start somewhere. What is one of the pieces of this framework that you can take, and maybe it's affirmations and you're like, I'm gonna, and I could do that today, right? Like just commit to something, and we have to do it again and again and again until it really becomes habit, really becomes part of us. But I just think that there's so much opportunity for us to become closer with our teams, closer with our partners, have less stress when our relationships are humming along in a good way, and you're just really like happy. Life is easier. Like, when life happens and there are challenges, but you can attack those a little bit easier because you have a little more energy and you're not as burned out and you've got your support people because you've had great communication and you've invested just a little bit in them. I mean, it's just such a win-win across the board. So, thank you for sharing this framework. And Kathy, are you ready for the resilience round?
I am.
Let's do it. Best business book.
That one was so hard. But I think The Gap and the Gain
Mm,
has been a favorite book for my husband and I both. We use something out of that. We share 3 wins almost every night.
oh, I love that. Awesome.
Mhm,
Oh, that's
mhm.
good. Very good. Great suggestion too. Now, because you're not in retail, I modified these a little bit for you. So, best technology to run your business, like an app or software.
'Kay. So what I put initially is Paper Bell, which is a coaching platform, but as I thought about it more, it's AI. Like,
Mm,
I have
yeah,
friends who wanna take courses in AI, and I'm like, "Just start using it." Like,
I
I've
know.
always been kind of the tech forward of my peers.
Yeah.
Um, and I have been using AI so much, as idea generation, automation, um, yeah.
Yeah.
ChatGPT, I call her Chatty.
Chatty. Oh, I love it.
Chatty.
That's so good. It was great, great option there. I couldn't agree more. If you had to start your business all over again, what's one thing you do differently?
I so talking about my current business, I think I would do more market research.
Mm,
I'm the type of person, like, I wanna have all the pieces in place, and so I put a lot of emphasis and time into, like, the website and things that are important, but I'm still pivoting a bit in terms of trying to find, um, who is really ready
mm.
for what I offer. So probably a little more market research.
Yeah, that's a good one. Finally, Kathy, what do you think the future of independent retail looks like?
Oh, well, first of all, I my heart goes out to retailers, especially after the pandemic, because
Mm,
it just everything changed. And I'm the type of person that I, especially when it comes to clothing, I want to go in and I want to touch it and see it. Like I used to say that I shopped the mannequin. If I saw something styled, I was like, "Oh, I really like that. I would never have put
yes.
that together. I'll buy that,"
Same. Yes.
And, shopping online is just it's a necessary evil
Mm,
anymore, and, so I what I miss is the curated
mm,
shopping experience. So I don't know if that's the future or just my wish. That would be my
yeah,
wish. I don't know
yeah.
what the future is. I mean, I think it is a hard uphill battle for retailers because, am everything's on Amazon,
Mm,
and it doesn't make me happy to shop there. Not for clothes, not for household items, that sort of thing. I'll order my groceries through Whole Foods on Amazon, but
right.
um yeah, I would love, and I don't find many stores like this, honestly, like that store
Mm,
that where we used to live, where it's just a beautifully curated experience,
mm.
and but where I would actually buy things, like there are very high-end stores, I'm sure, but it's like, yeah, I'm not spending that. So,
The curation, I think that is such a good word, and there's a lot of opportunities with that as far as merchandise and experience and
Mhm.
online from a marketing perspective too, so
Mhm.
I love it. So thank you for sharing. Kathy, how can people connect and learn more about you?
Well, I would love for any of your listeners to find me. My website is probably the easiest place to find me, and it's just kathyrushing.com. It's Kathy with a K. The free download that I have is it comes up as a pop-up on my website. Social media, I'm in a bit of a love-hate relationship currently. I've been on LinkedIn a lot. I might do a little exploration into TikTok, but just doing some videos, I don't know, but,
Yeah.
so, yeah, or email me, info at kathyrushing.com. I'd love to hear, send me questions. If there's anything that we've covered in this that you would like more information about, email me. It's just me.
Awesome.
I don't have a team, so I do read the emails and
Yes, you are info at. Yes, I
I
love it.
am info at. Mhm.
Yeah, I love it. Kathy, thank you so much for taking time and sharing your wisdom with my listeners. I know
You're
that it's
so
gonna help
welcome.
on a lot of different levels. So thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. And I would just reiterate what you said of just choose one thing and start small. Start small.
Totally. Yep, you got this, listeners. We believe in you. Remember that I am rooting for your success. Have a great week ahead. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Rooted in Retail podcast. It means the world to me to have you here. If you find value in this show and you listen on an iPhone, if you could leave a review on the Apple Podcast app, that would be amazing. And if you watch YouTube, if you're a YouTube subscriber, we film this. And so if you rather watch the show, you can also do that over on YouTube. Again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next episode.